right. I think I got it, you guys, on the first go. Maybe 2019 is going to be the year of me not messing up as much when it comes to technology. Wouldn't that be something? Good morning, it's Shay. I am here doing my weekly thing. Hey, John, how's it going? Good to have you. I got coffee. The world is shiny. I think I'm feeling a little bit punch drunk this morning because I didn't sleep as well as I could have last night. But hopefully that means I'm just cheerful. Hey, Apollo, how are you? I'm really excited there's people here already. Like, yay! This is fantastic. So, last week I did a walkthrough of my sketchbook for last year, and that seemed to go well. This week I want to work on a mapping project for my book. I started converting as I'm writing for Halcyon into a Dungeons and Dragons second edition campaign, and realized that what I have for my Halcyon map so far, which I have traced out on this piece of paper and pencil, is not sufficient for the area of where I have the players right now. So I wanted to put them in an area that was farther to the east and have them move west towards the western coast. That to come up with what is farther east. So what I've done is I've gone back to my reference maps that I created and I've traced out what I have for the western coast. And I'm gonna just sketch that in here with black ink. And then I'm gonna go through and start adding the landforms that are making up the east. The original this was done on triangular hex grid paper. If you give me just a second, I will grab it and show you guys what I'm working from. Hey Dexter, how's it going? So yeah, this is the original. So how do I even explain this? The story that I have for the novel itself is basically taking place all along this coastline. I think I worked it out that each hex is approximately 60 miles. So in my head, roughly, if you were to make this an equivalence, this would be about Vancouver, Canada, and coming down to here would be roughly like, I think it said San Diego in California. So I have various plot points on other bits of this version that designate cities and plot locations and stuff like that. And where I think I want the story to take place for the campaign is somewhere over here. I have a significant mountain range here. I have another one up here. And I know that they are east mountains heading towards the coast. So I kind of want to take a little bit of time today to kind of flesh that in. Dexter, did that not guitar but other stringed thing show up finally? So yeah, so this is why like I don't have any geography up in this corner because the original map that I'm working from was designed in a triangle. So imagine that today too. I really enjoy the process of mapping for my writing. That's what got me started with all of this. I find that I have a better time narrating possibilities to myself, knowing kind of what the geography might hold and what kind of people might choose to live in it, how the environment affects the way that they live, what kind of culture they have. That kind of thing is really, really neat for me. Is it a round world I'm mapping right now? Yes, it is. All of the proportions and general climate, all of the science is really, really close to Earth's because I am not crunchy that way. I am not a science person, and I don't want to insult the people who are by getting it horrifically, horrifically wrong. So I'm gonna keep things pretty bog standard in that regard, and just not mess with too much. So same relative diameter, same relative hydrology in terms of how much of the planet is covered in water. Same kind of general climate with cold poles and warm equator. that kind of deal. I do have magic in this world, so there are magical factors on the general ecology, but those tend to be, for the most part, much smaller, much more local impact. The most significant difference is actually this crescent in the bay. In my head, that was caused by magic, but I've been within my mapping group and been told that perhaps what I'm imagining is not as realistic as I would want it to be. So I'm having to kind of reimagine how I want that to work. I think some of it might be a little bit of, hey, it's magic hand waving, but I prefer to not have to rely on that as much as possible. So yeah, feel free to ask questions because I don't mind talking about this. This is like one of my favorite projects in the world. This is going to be my map for Patreon this month. So if any of you are on the Patreon, you're getting a sneak peek coming. I'm trying really hard to be a lot more front loaded with my maps because unfortunately with the round of commissions I've had lately, I've been doing them really close to the end of the month, and I don't like the feeling of that. I'd rather make it a lot more intentional and like a project. So I'm going to be alternating between this map and well, I've started Matthew's map. It's just not in a place where I can start working on it. Dream yet. Hi, Gary. Yes, it is mapped out on a 20-sided polygon. I have it. It's right beside my desk. Just a second. It's kind of squished because the dog got at it, but I can fix that. So yeah, I'm again not really a math person, but I worked it out what it would generally look like. So the orange is the continent, and the blue is the water. So I have an idea of where it all kind of falls. And then, so like this is the north-south axis. This is my North Pole, this is my South Pole, this is my equator line. And it just so ends up working out that my largest continent looks vaguely like a dragon. It was completely unintentional. I had drawn the map flat and then cut it and took out chunks to create this D20 shape. So my one continent now looks like a dragon. I think that's hilarious. So yeah. Yeah, I enjoy it. It makes me happy. Thank you, Paulo. Dexter, it's going well. We're just kind of getting into it. The map is a really interesting style that I'm working from. So it's been really cool to kind of see what changes that Matthew wants made and kind of move forward from there. It's cool in some ways too because he's asking for things to be a bit simplified, which I've never had to try before. So it's kind of stretching my wings in that direction. Like, how can I make this as clean as possible? It's got me thinking about doing a map in a really Art Deco kind of style with really sharp geometry and a limited palette color scheme. Trying to mash those words together. So I might play with that during my private practices in the morning and see if I can come up with something I like. In my head, it's really cool. I just have no idea if I can actually get it onto paper, which, you know, is pretty much the story of my life. One of the things that I've had to really let go of while working on coastlines is wanting to be too meticulous with them. They look so much less natural if I'm actually stiff in my hand. Just need to kind of loosen up and let it happen. Have I ever mapped Carcosa? I'm not even sure what Carcosa is, Dex. Can you tell me? Yeah, Gary, I think the Art Deco is going to be fun. I want to do some gold leaf this year. I've had ideas for kind of an Art Nouveau style one that involves gold leaf. So I gotta figure out how to make that happen before I start investing in gold leaf, though. That stuff is pretty expensive to be making mistakes with. So, I think Gary is the only one here who will know, but I took a class with an Edmonton artist named Justina Smith last year or the year before, I don't recall now. And she does some really interesting mixed media stuff with the fancy gilded Japanese washi papers. And with Japanese tissue papers, which are just gorgeous. And I've been wondering about trying to mix a little bit of her layering technique into a map as well and just seeing what the results would be. It would definitely be more on the fine art kind of wall hanging spectrum of map rather than on like the role playing book binding. You could actually use this to get somewhere map, but I still think it could be pretty. And sometimes you just want to make things that are pretty. Just about done these islands here. Oh, The City from the King in Yellow. Yeah, you just finished reading that, didn't you? No, I don't own enough Yellow, Gary. You're right. Yeah, you wouldn't mind. That would be amazing. I haven't read it. You think it would be fun to map? Like, is there something specific about it? I just saw somebody mapping Arkham, actually. Gary, I think I might have sent you that link. It was a really, really neat project. Sorry, just focusing on what's in front of me. Oh, that one looks a little bit like a dog biscuit. No good. Japanese coloring paper. Do I have any sitting here? Yeah, I do. Okay, cool. Sorry guys with the noise. Alright, so this is a, forgive me if I'm saying this wrong, Katazome Shi mix. And these ones don't have the gilding. These are just the printed papers. And what they are is a traditional Japanese paper that have these absolutely beautiful patterns. Oh, there's a piece of the gilded stuff. So you can kind of see how that's gold. All right, sounds good, Paulo. Give the dogs a scritch for me. So you can see how this is gilded, and the rest of these don't have that gilding. It's just a different style of paper. But the way that Justina works is she will draw out a painting, block it in with paint, like do the underpainting, and then she'll take pieces of different papers and different patterns and color schemes and glue them on top of her painting in random places that might correlate to, maybe this would go into the sky, maybe this would become part of the ice on a lake. And so you end up with these really unexpected patches of texture and color that don't quite jive with what your brain is expecting for the geographic feature, but they look harmonious and they add this other element of texture. And so I took a class from her to learn how to do this because it's a super unique style. I've never ever seen anybody else do something like it before. And it's a lot of fun to do. Like, it's a really different kind of process, and it kind of mashes up. Ooh, that one's pearlescent. That could be fun. It kind of mashes mixed media stuff with painting, which is a combination that I'm quite fond of. So I'm thinking about it now in the context of not doing like a landscape or a portrait, but maybe trying to do it with a map. Because, like, couldn't you picture that as the water? Like, for an inland sea or a really cool lake. And, like, this might make some really neat fields. This could also make some really neat fields because you've got, like, especially if it was, like, more upside down, so you're less hung up on the fact that those are houses. But, like, if you were to just take a square of that where you couldn't even recognize the shape, you'd have all these different agricultural colors kind of in one space. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about with that. Did that answer your question, Dexter? Ooh, that one's fun. I don't think I've seen that one before. But yeah, they're just super pretty, and I like having them around. If you know me, you know that I collect pens and I collect paper rather obsessively. I won't put this away right now because that'll just be annoying. I will put that away off camera. Okay, awesome. Do you need a large size paper to properly use it? No, you really don't. It depends on how big you want to cut pieces. Justina typically works on anything from like a little, I don't know, what is that, 6x6 canvas, up to canvases that are 3 and 4 feet square, or other dimensions. They don't necessarily have to all be square, but it does change how much of any given pattern you're going to be able to use in its entirety. So if you're using a larger canvas, you could theoretically lay this down as one block, right? But if you're using a canvas that is that size, you're going to end up picking small sections of it that are going to work out for you. I don't have an example of the Japanese tissue paper with me. I'm out right now. But it's almost like lace. There's it's beautiful, thin, soft fiber in really, really gorgeous patterns. And it's very, very translucent with these beautiful holes in it because it's been made to look like lace. And you can get swirls and waves and all kinds of just gorgeous little patterns. And then she uses that to block in things that are more translucent. So shadows, for example, or frost on windows are popular ways for her to use that paper. And I like that too. Like, it just adds a really interesting thing. It's a bit longer of a process than just standard drawing because you're dealing with acrylic gel media and acrylic paint. So every time you put on a layer, you have to wait for that layer to dry down completely and plasticize before you can go on top of it. So it's definitely not as fast as just, pen and ink on paper kind of thing. And it's a bit more intentional because you have to think about it in advance to know kind of where you want your general thing to lay out. I just find that's a really cool process to get my brain into because it's not necessarily a way that I think all the time when I'm doing things. So it's pretty cool for me that way. All right, let's imagine this coastline over here. So do this maybe. That works for me. So Gary, you and I have talked about this map before. Up here is where the fox people are. That would be the ones that you were thinking of playing in the campaign. Now I may end up changing this northern coast again to suit myself at some point, but we'll go with it for right now. Yeah, that works for me. Okay, cool. So we're going to pull the southern coast down. I think that living in North America has made me very biased as to what a western coast looks like. I didn't really realize how much that was a thing until I started trying to draw another western coast and was like, wait a second. I'm kind of proud of myself because I brought up the entire coffee pot today. So I can refill at need, which is going to be great. Alright, so I'm going to go back to my reference map here and sketch in my mountains because I need to do that. And kind of know where I am. Alright, so the first set of mountains is the northern reaches, and they start right about here and kind of come down this way. My second set of mountains ends right about here and goes up and off in this direction. So I think I had this chain entirely planned out in another map that I probably should have looked at before starting this. But now you guys can see my map chest. So that's a thing. Alright. Let's tilt the camera a little bit here. Hopefully that's okay. So this is the 20-sided dice, I forget the proper word for it, that I used the original of the polyhedral that I just showed you guys. So when I drew it out, it was drawn exactly in this format. It was designed in the triangles. So that was really interesting for me to work with. So what I've got here, if you can kind of see the gray, is what that range looked like. So I'm just gonna do a quick... Do I find it a little mind-bending? Honestly, I think I'd find it more mind-bending if I understood it from an actual geographer's standpoint. I'm looking at it from strictly aesthetics, so I can kind of monkey around and get whatever I'm happy with in an aesthetic sense. And that makes all the difference in the world sometimes. Because it's like, oh, I don't like how that looks. Okay, fine, it's gone now. Or, oh, I do like how this looks. Okay. Alright, so what I'm seeing in this is that my mountain range starts up here, which is way past that point. So it's coming down this way and coming over here. So this little range that I have right here is the one that I just penciled in over. Oh no, why are you fuzzy? Stop being fuzzy. There we go. This little range that I have penciled in here and here are the ones that I just put on my map here. And this larger setup is further to the east. So that's definitely important, and we're going to have to sketch that in. Stop being with the shaky. Focus. Did we win? Okay, I'm going to do this quickly just so we can get off the shaky paper here. So then this kind of comes up and around. It goes up that way. And then this one kind of comes this way and curls over. And there is a little stretch that comes over here. Actually, that won't show. Not that far, because that's a whole other triangle. Alright, so we're going to work on this section because that's kind of where I want people to be. And then I will play with working out the scale of the rest of that later on. Thunk. Two memes. I'm confused. Yeah, no, I'm sorry about the focus. Try and get that corrected right now. The phone that I'm using as a camera is showing that it's in focus, but I'm looking at the YouTube on my computer and it's showing that it's not. So can somebody give me a, hey, yes, this is working, or no, it's not, please? Dexter, it took me 2 days to recover from lifting. Man, I was sore. Not sore enough that I felt like dying, but sore enough that I was like, oh yeah, these are muscles I haven't touched at all in a very long time. Still out of focus, hey, Kate? No. Can we focus on that? And now back. Still pixelated. This is not winning for me. Why is this not winning for me? I think I'm gonna stop this one and reboot it, and maybe that will make the difference. I'm sorry. Give me a second. We'll pause this down, and then I'll reboot, and I'll meet you guys back here.